All right, first things first, we've got our nice stroker small block making some serious power. Made it to our transmission, but they're sort of hanging out all alone. These guys need some friends.
Yeah, man, they do need some friends, and we have a couple of them. How about motor meet header?
Yeah.
All right.
So we're gonna mock these up just so we can get the exhaust routed. So we're not gonna get too crazy with gaskets and torquing all the bolts down, but if you wanna grab that sort of creeper down there, slide under, you got a bolt, and I got the last spark plug here. So the first thing you want to do is pull all your plugs out because you'll end up smashing probably at least several of them. The ceramics, just kind of feeding the headers up in there. Now one thing I've noticed pulling out the other ones is you can see here anti-seize is a good thing. Too much anti-seize could wreak havoc on your ignition. So make sure when you put it on your spark plugs, just get it on the threads, not on the strap like this, not on the electrode or the ceramic. So we'll have to get a new set or really try to clean those up well. Let me get my fastener. All right. Let's see, get this one started, and all right, this one's rolling. If you want to get that back one, we'll snug these up a little bit, throw the other side on, and we can work our way on the other side of the car and try to shoot out the back.
I am exhaust man.
Oh, exhaust man, I knew I smelled something funny, man. Was that you?
No. Hey, we're back underneath our 57 Chevy, and unfortunately, it's a little dirty.
That's not dirt. That's crud, that's corrosion, that's road grime, man. There's a lot of filth under here, but everything looks pretty solid, just a few rusty bolts to fight here and there.
This is all good times. This is a lot of good times under here. And check this out. From Schaefer Classic Reproductions, we got ourselves an exhaust system, and this thing is great, man. I love it. Right out of the gate, I noticed one thing in particular different, because I own a 57, and a lot of muffler shops, a lot of exhaust guys, we use these stock mounting brackets right here for exhaust. And what happens, you get a lot of vibration that travels through the frame, into the cab, and so forth. Well, the guys at Schaefer Classic Reproductions made a cool little bracket that uses the body mount, and that way you can get the exhaust, the muffler, back here, back towards the back of the car. So it eliminates a lot of that vibration and noise you're gonna get inside the cab of the car, puts it in the back. Really like that, man.
All right, well, we're gonna do some trial fitting. First of all, anytime you're putting custom headers on, the mounting flange up at the front is always gonna be unique and different. So we're gonna have to make that battle as we've got everything else laid out. The second thing I noticed is we've got an aftermarket 5-speed trans in the car. The whole assembly's been moved back about an inch, so we've got a custom cross member here that may end up being right in the flow of traffic.
Can't have that.
So let's feed this guy up over. Up and over, there you go.
All right.
Wait. There's over. And we'll try fitting some stuff in here. All right, you wanna hook that over the, yeah. We got everything going on down here at once, perfect.
There we go.
Now if you can go forward.
There we go.
There we are. All right, so.
As you can tell already, this is gonna cause us a problem.
Yeah, so that's a nice piece. It actually was mounted pretty decent, but I don't think no matter what we put on here for exhaust, that thing is just right in the way. So let's get ourselves a little bit mocked up here. I got the jack already into the trans because I can see we're gonna have issues. Let's rework this guy up here, and then we'll make our way forward.
There you go. All right, still at our exhaust, man, making sure all the fit and finish on it is great, and something you'll kind of take note of, all the computer-controlled mandrel bending makes it really nice, guaranteed good flow. And I like the fit and finish on it, because anytime you add, like, headers, that's a modification.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a great modification, too, and they give us a little bit of wiggle room in here, which really helps.
Yeah, because no header manufacturer from one to the other are going to give you the same pierce point, the same angle.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is get your full setup all the way back. Everything's like you want it. It's all mounted nice. And then you take the last piece here and you figure out, it comes with an extra flange, and you can mark off one end or both ends and take a little sliver off. And I'm going to mark around this guy here. I can make a nice clean bandsaw cut, and I might take a little off the back, but I'll get this fit up real quick. All right, come on in for a sneak peek of the progress. All right, so we've got our exhaust all welded up here. We've got our new ends on it. This side's just taken off, so Willie can run some lines, which he'll show you in a second. Now this is the cross member that somebody fabbed up to mount this new engine and transmission location.
Had some problems though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good piece, real simple, except you know, they took just an easy route on fitting this without really thinking about fitting all the other stuff like exhaust. So we want to run through this area here. So we're just going to remake this piece, but we're going to put a kick up in it. We're going to mount very similar on the frame rails, mount the pad of the transmission right here. So what I've done is, you know, just bent up some welding rod, and that'll go right up in here like this. Super easy to tweak back and forth, bend it, shape it, and I don't have to get super technical with my bends. I've got a decent guideline because I can kind of rotate it around, I can move it up and down, and I'm going to end up welding it right to my plate here. I left myself plenty of extra stock, so let me take my little template without bending it and take it over the bender, start bending the real tube.
Nice. Now while Kevin bends that up, I'm going to handle these brake lines. The cool part is, the same guys that sent us the exhaust, Schaefer's, right? The guy started making fuel lines and brake lines in his garage at home. That's how his business started. That's the kind of American ingenuity we like to see. So they sent us some nice little brake lines, new fuel lines as well. And whenever you put a dual exhaust system, right, especially on these old shoebox of Chevy, you want to take the brake line and the fuel line and run it on the outside portion of the frame rail. That way you keep away from all this heat that's coming off the exhaust. So these new fuel lines and brake lines they sent us are going to run right up through here. They're all fit and formed, custom bent. The pierce points are correct. So it makes it really simple, really easy to get the fuel and the brake fluid away from all the heat on the inside. So I get these mounted up. Kevin will get the trans mount mounted up. And this thing will be almost kind of buttoned up under here.
I've got my cross member tube cut a little bit long, and I can lay my little pattern up here. I've got a center line, and you can work from one end, make your bends, and end up somewhere, but I like working from the center line if I can, depending on how complicated the bend. So this is my flat section. This is where I'm going to start to roll my bend up. So I've got it marked, and a little tip, if you get a little parallel piece of thin stock or cardboard, you can wrap it around on itself, and it helps you square up kind of nicely so you can get a good line all the way around. So no matter how you orient your tube, you can look at your mark on the die for your setups. So we've got our radius die here. This is going to get pushed around with a hydraulic ram. The tube's going to get pushed into this like this. So, and then you got your die right here, your shoe, and that's going to drag on the tube. So you want to make sure you lube that up pretty good. But I think we're ready for our first bend. Show you how this works. Slide that guy in there, and your bend doesn't start at the beginning of the radius of this die. This one has a little notch, so line your line up pretty close to that, and then we'll get our little clamp on here. As soon as I get it wiggled in place, drop this guy in, lock it down, and now I'll get myself a little reference angle, or I can just kind of eyeball the bend and hold my little dude up here to get the angle. And remember, you can sneak up on it so you don't have to get it, you know, knocked out first time around. So let me give this guy a little bit of juice here, and we start making some bends.
All right, just about buttoned up on the fuel lines and the brake lines we got from Schaefer. Pretty cool stuff here. Got it on the outside of the rail, keep it away from that heat. And my boy Kev looks like he's doing pretty good on this transmission mount.
Almost there, man. Yeah, you can see we got our little V-bar routed around everything, nice and clearance to everything. We've got a little transmission mount here, so that guy will zip right up like so. And I can hold it there with the nut, and the tube's just actually wedged up in there, so I can move it around. I can kind of hold her like so, and I think I'm ready to tack this guy on.
Oh boy.
And we're one step closer to dropping these little jack screws out of the way.
Some fire in the hole.
There we go.
Hey, welcome back. Now I'm inside the 57 Chevy. Underneath, we got pretty much everything buttoned up. We have a new exhaust on it. We redid the fuel lines and the brake lines, and Kevin built that pretty cool trans crossmember brace. So I think it's pretty buttoned up under there. It just so happens I found from Custom Auto Sound a radio that will fit right into this dash. Now the great thing is old school look, new school sound and functionality, which is great. I'll show you that in just a second. Got to get this guy out. It's funny, man. Being a kid growing up with a dad that had a 57 Chevy, albeit in parts in a barn, I never lost a race in that 57. Granted, I was like 8, and I was racing all kinds of cars. You ought to heard me in that barn sitting in the seat. Boom, boom, boom. Pretty cool stuff, man. I'm really close to these cars. So it's pretty cool to see one like this that's just on its way to recovery. All right. So check out this behemoth of an old school AM radio. Now, in 1957, they didn't have FM radio. So you got really cool when you got this little band adapter that was in the glove box we found. Check out that tuning knob somewhere underneath here. Who would imagine you would see something like this? Now, the great thing about what we got from Custom Auto Sound, this USA 630. Now, this thing is super cool, all right? Because in 1957, you didn't see things that said iPod. You didn't see things that say USB port. So, you know, you got all the functionality of something new, but yet on the face of it, it looks like it belongs in this 1957 sort of dashboard. So when you get in, it's going to follow all the, you know, old school patina look, but yet give you all that cool sound and ability to have things like your iPod, Bluetooth, and all that cool stuff. So I'm gonna get this mounted up, and Kevin's got some viewer emails he's gonna answer, so check that out.
All right, we've really improved this car by making some great sounds. Willie's got the stereo on the inside, we got the exhaust coming out the backside, but there's one sound we want to get rid of, and that's that sort of chunking, grinding going on in the rear end. So we hooked up with nitro gear and axle, and we've got a complete set of everything. High quality axles, 1541H, high quality steel. So these guys are going to replace those 50-some-year-old axles in the back. We also got ring and pinion gears, bearings. We got our paint so we can get our matching on our mesh for our gears. They've got a lot of gear choices now, where in the old days you only had sort of drag race options. But we're going to put a 336 gear in this car so we can go cruise, so we can go to car shows, maybe drive the thing across country. Now, last time we did a gear change, we had some questions on bearings. So one of those was preload. Now, preload's just like you do on, let's say, your hub on your wheel, right? You're going to tighten those bearings so there's just a certain amount of drag, right? And you're going to shim this thing in the housing, or you're going to turn your adjusters. So there's just the right amount of drag so the bearings last forever, they don't make noises. You're going to do the same thing in your pinion gear. Now, the other question was, how do you get those bearings off? Now, there's a couple of different ways. You can use the guillotine. So this guy will slide right under here like so. And however you can kind of get in there to wrestle it, you'll tighten this guy up, and then maybe put it in the bearing press down here, and try to pull this bearing race off. Well, Nitro Gear's got a great tool set here. This guy's pretty cool, and it's real simple. You don't need a press. This guy will slide right under the bearings. The collar goes on top right after you've dropped in, you know, the pusher, so you can push on the inside. This guy will slide right in there like that, and we'll try to capture him. There we go. All that good stuff. Just got to get the collar down, and I'm ready to zip this guy off with the impact and pull that bearing right off. All right, it's that easy.